Okay, so my personal assignment is experiences and situations mapping, a space analysis of Mungo-Hellman. So the first questions that I have in mind when starting this project were what does it take for a public space to work and be used, and if I could get to a formula or some kind of receipt to make a public space perfect. So a brief introduction. My spot is in a walking path between Sodermalm and Gamla Stan, and it works in a very structured way, where we have like 3 lanes. In the first one, there's just people rushing to go somewhere from the metro station to somewhere else or the other way, and in the second lane, nothing happens. And in the third lane, there's like a zone with benches, with people faced to the landscape, not seeing what is happening behind them. So I wondered is there really something wrong, and if so, how could it be solved? The first thing that I thought about was actually asking people that was there, doing some kind of surveys to know their perspective. And also the teacher here recommended me to use the Kevin Lynch analysis, using my senses and my experiences there to get a more deeper knowledge of the site. So the aim was to get not like a perfect solution for the site, but to have a more wider perspective about it, and also get a more adaptable solution. So what I first, the Kevin Lynch analysis has these main topics, and about the paths, as I said, like the site is a path itself because it's connecting to districts, and it is blocked in the west and the east side. In the west side for the sea, which is a main edge, and in this side there's the highway and the train rails that also divide it from the rest of Gamla Stan. This division led the site like in a kind of a marginal way, or like it's more hidden, and it's kind of important that for me. Also the entrances and exits are a little bit difficult for some people because we have difference of heights, and they are solved most of the times with stairs, and there are not any lifts or any kind of these machineries. And about the landmarks in the site, the most noticeable is the Landhuis in the right. When you're looking to the landscape, there is a sign of power and an icon of Stockholm. This is my mental map of the zone. And also the surveys that I ran, I did them during the first two weeks of November, and I asked as many people as possible, and with different origins, different occupations, so I get a wider perspective. So what I found is that actually some things that I found as drawbacks, like the hidden thing, or that there is quite some kind of marginal place, it is actually something charming for some people, because they can go alone and spend some time feeling calm, and also that they feel the place some kind of a historical part of the city, so they have a lot of respect to it. So they would be a little bit, it would be a little bit difficult to do some kind of intervention on it. This is the site, and although the opinions of the people, I feel that some interventions could be done at first. This is the entrance or the exit from the metro station, and I think that some kind of lift for people with difficult of mobilities could be placed, and also a handrail in the border, because there's nothing preventing people to fall into the water. And about the usability of the outdoor furniture, at first only the green benches were disposed, and modestly our studio project was to improve this site in some way, and what we did is to mirror the benches so people could also sit facing the other side and interact with the people that was passing by, and also we placed a mirror so they could see the landscape behind them. To end up with, I would like to say that the Kevin Lynch analysis, all the sensory analysis, was very interesting for me, because at the site I realized that you could feel like a lot of things. When you go out of the metro station, you could appreciate the change of the light. You could also hear the waves crashing or the train passing behind you. Also, the landscape was very beautiful and was one of the main things. I don't know, also you could smell people pee, which is not very nice, but still there. And that's the main thing. If you want to know more, you can read my individual assignments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We take questions before. Any spontaneous question on Arnaud's paper?
Just one question. You only saw the metro station entrance and as like the entrance, or did you also was thinking of the stairs?
Like, you mean that?
Yeah, exactly. Because isn't it also a stair in the from the sides to like Slussen or Riddarholmen?
Yeah, like
maybe it's blocked.
Yeah.
There's just. Like there's stairs in. If you come from here, there's a stair. If you come from the metro station, there's always a stair. From here too, just this entrance or exit, that's the only one that has no stairs.
Yeah, exactly.
So with people, it's kind of difficult. That was your question, or what?
Yeah, if you were, but now I see the diagram. I just was thinking if you were thinking of that, how many entrances you have if you come in wheelchair or. But then I see your answer.
What do you think about the analysis method, the Kevin Lynch? Do you think that these concepts are useful in a longer term for you as an architect?
What do you mean? Like, I don't.
No, I mean, is it a method that you will integrate in your way of designing?
Yeah, like totally. The Kevin Lynch analysis, and also the practice we did here with the wheelchair and glasses that blind us, were something that really impressed me. Because actually, like, I kind of feel the wood when touching this wall, and when I was there in the site, also I gave more attention to my other senses apart from the site, and I think that is something interesting. And what I did also is like I looked to my previous projects in Barcelona, and I tried to imagine them like in other senses, and I realized that I wasn't paying so much attention to it before.
Which sense did you use the most before?
The site.
Yeah. Jonas, do you have a question?
Sorry, I didn't understand much of it. The language, so I can't answer any question.
Well, let's move on, and I think we have to go to your presentation instead of Nina. Thank you very much. Du kan vara stänga av den.
Ja.
Du kan använda det om du behöver peka.
Jag tror det.
Där då.
told me that she's on her way because she has to talk to her studio teachers.
Okay.
So she's coming now.
Okay. Great. Technical problem.
Yeah.
Or do you think it could be something with the cable?
No, I don't think it's maybe.
Kanske var det när det var 2 stycken.
Det är sant. Nej.
Ja, det var en bra fråga.
Och det var ingenting så att det kan passa till den där? Nej.
Mm. Det finns inte att man kan ställa in på...
Det var inte så bra i och för sig direkt.
Mm.
Men nu släcktes den, för den var tänd nyss. Men nu är den släckt.
För den ska, jag tror... Den vill ju starta av sig själv. Vanligtvis när man kopplar ur sladden.
Mm.
Eller? Har du tillfilmen?
Nu så är den någonstans.
Ska vi stoppa in det?
Nu börjar den blinka.
För det är att din dator inte är på den och sånt där.
Nej. Funkar det asbra för dig?
Ja, precis. Det var din dator som gjorde jobbet då.
Man kan ställa in kanalen kanske det står efter.
Nu ser det ut som det är en bild. Jag vet inte om den är helt mörk. Borde ta fram en annan bild kanske.
Medan som har en USB-sticka kanske kan dra över den till dig i värsta fall.
Ja, jag har USB.
Ja.
försöker vi koppla tillbaka.
Det här var dagens paus.
Mm.
Där. Jaha, det är lite... Det här med sladdar borde man hitta en bättre design.
Kör på det kanske. Tack till lyssning. Får du det?
Ja. Men teknikstrul fortsätter, det kommer inte in. Och sen tar du den på den här då. Vad heter den?
Precis ovanför.
Där. Och sen är det full.
Just det. Hängknappen där. Ja, här är det också.
Vilket sa du?
Det där.
Behöver du den? Du kan ha. Jag vet inte om det funkar.
Jo, det funkar jättebra.
Please, the
Yes.
floor is yours.
Thank you. So, I got very interested in the eye level and the relation to it regarding the perception of space. Since we people are quite different, and my interest came from when I saw, Le Corbusier, his drawing, and a very human-centered sort of approach to design. But the thing is that he started from himself, and not everyone looks like Le Corbusier, like in his height and all his dimensions. So, and I got particularly interested in this how we perceive a space depending on like which level we're on. And that is because like people are different. Some are children, and some are bound by wheelchairs, and some are taller than others. So that means that we all perceive the space in a different way. And to do this, I conducted a very small study with 4 test subjects. And what we did was basically that we went on the floors, on the studios, and we made a 3-minute sketch on each level. And on each level we also had different heights. So on the first level we were standing, everyone, and then on the second one we were all sitting, and on the last one we were all sitting on the ground. And we made very fast sketches in order to not think too much, but rather just see the first thing and just document it. And then the idea was to see if there were any differences depending on which height you were on. So as you can see, this was the first floor where we were crouching and sitting, and here we have some results from the sketch session. And being at the lowest level, we sort of noticed that people were looking at the details that was like in front of them, and also that this subject number 2, he was also documenting the ceiling, which he didn't document in the other 2 rounds we did later on. And when we discussed the drawings later on, they said that they felt sort of like physically smaller, and somewhat one of them felt a little bit insecure because they were feeling small in the space, and that they tended to want to look upwards since there was a lot of space above them. So we went one floor up, and we sat down and had another 3-minute sketch session in the sitting position. And the results here were more like when I tried to interpret the drawings, people tend to draw more like from that height, looking a little bit further away rather than having a look at the details right in front of them. And also, when we discussed, they felt more comfortable in this position since this was a more familiar state to be in. Yeah, because we all sit from time to time. And this is the last session we did in a standing position, and the results here were more like yeah, you can see that people tended to look even further away somehow. And in all cases they documented the volumes. But the interesting thing is that what they actually started to fill inside the space once they were drawing. And in this position they felt more comfortable, like as if they were more in control of the space, and that they could see more. And what I then was thinking about is that it's actually quite much of a common sense thing, that the higher up you are, the more you see, and the more you see, the more you tend to you feel less threatened, because there are less question marks visually about your surrounding. While when you were lower, you tend to see the things that are immediate in front of you, and then there are more question marks, like what's behind that object, and you have more, because you have more things clogging your views. And with this conclusion is the conclusion is that it's quite important to think of who you design to. Like if you're designing for people in wheelchairs, maybe you have to really think about how they see interpret the environment, and you make sure that from their point of view that they can see what the different elements that you put in that you want them to interact with. And also, if you're designing for small children, for example, I think it's very good that you also think about, maybe they feel smaller, and how to make them feel more safe. Maybe not use so many objects that clog your view, if you want to use that, or if you want to make a more intimate space. Should consider the eye level. Yeah. Short and sweet.
No, it was a very interesting study.
Thank you.
No one has done this before. What do you think?
I also think it's super smart method, because you're also using this school that are... First I was thinking, by doing it at different levels, maybe then the objects differ, and then maybe you can put attention to an object that seems interesting, like the people who are sitting there, and that is funny to sketch maybe.
Yeah.
But in the same time you see this, I mean the school is so similar.
Yeah.
So you could do it and just maybe pay extra attention to that.
Yeah.
But I was also thinking of, because it's very interesting, I've been to schoolyards, I have, but kindergartens, indoor, and they have actually just get to know about it like a half year ago, to put down all the things, and that is 2 years ago. It has always been designing for the person working in the kindergarten, and now they have taken it down because of a pedagogic reason, but they didn't speak about how the small children saw it. They were just speaking about to reach. So I think also this about seeing is very interesting.
Yeah, exactly, and I got the particular interest in the site, since we're very dominated with this sense. So many of us.
I think it was very interesting, because the last images seem to be the most architectural, or the most used by architects to have the comprehensive and simplified view of the space, and while the others became more detailed, you were paying attention to the person sitting in front of them.
Yeah.
But then it was interesting that the patterning, the ceiling was one sketcher always try to use it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the first as well.
It's very interesting, and I think if you should make like even more sketches to see to get even better results, because here you have some fluctuations.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's regarding the time frame we have.
Did you have a stopwatch or?
Yeah, I took
Yeah.
3 minutes, and when it bipped, I just told them what to lift the pen.
Okay.
They weren't allowed to finish.
Yeah. And your test objects or test persons, who were they? Were they equal amount of men and women, or?
Yeah, we had, or no, we have. I have one female and 3 males.
Okay. Yeah.
But they're all architecture students.
Yeah.
Actually, my studio mates.
Yeah, but could you see any difference between gender aspects? Is it possible to introduce in this context?
Well, if you take a look at these drawings, this one was drawn by a female subject, and this one tended to be a little bit more like organized in some way, while the male subjects, they were a little bit more like. But I don't know if it's just a stereotypical kind of conclusion, or if
I think you have to test it with several
I think I have
other
to test it more in order
sketches,
to draw some conclusions
Yeah.
of that. But the immediate thought would be like this, but I am very critical of that statement.
Do you have any, I mean, if we look at the sketches, to my mind, the subject number 2 seems to be more skilled than the others. I don't know whether you share this opinion.
Number 1 and 2 are like very different, because number 2 is like more about like you can see people and more light, and number 1 is so clear and so steady. I don't know.
It's more about the furniture,
Yeah.
the fits. Yeah. These two were drawing quite lightly
Yeah.
with their pencil. Yeah, I need to bump
Is
up
it possible to make them a bit darker? Or
Yeah, I
grayish or
can do
something?
that in Photoshop. He was drawing in ink.
Yeah.
And I think she was pressing harder. Yeah.
And it's just a comment that it reminds me like when the ceiling thing, when you go in like when you're in a 3 meter maybe tall space and you get in a hole or whatever that is taller, that it not depends on your position, but maybe your proportion with your height with the space height, that when you get in a tall space you tend to do it like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that we experience the same in this one as well. Like, it feels like you naturally wanna
You have to.
look upwards, while when you're when you're here standing, it's more of this kind of view that you.
So the floor becomes more important than the ceiling.
Yeah, exactly. That was quite a fun assignment.
Yes, it was an interesting study. No one has done it before, so it was great. I think we have to check whether there is some preference when you draw things.
Yeah.
Maybe these test persons have been taught drawing in a certain way. That could be an influence factor.
Yeah, exactly.
But otherwise, it was a nice study.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Arnaud, do you know if Nina will?
I can ask her.
I think she has to be here within 2 or 3 minutes. Otherwise, we can't stay. I mean, we don't have any whip treatments here. So if she's not here within 3 minutes, then we end the course.
Jag sa att det var 15 som ska göra ändringar.
Ja, jag ska försöka se om det går att förlänga den tiden.
Ja,
Det viktigaste är egentligen att man läser igenom och tänker att en helt utomstående person ska kunna läsa den. Och inte få då, som vi tar din text som exempel då, att man kan läsa texten på fel sätt så att säga. Och då läsa in saker som inte finns där. Bara för att det är ett ord som kanske sticker ut.
Exakt.
Just det.
Men det är också intressant med metoder så här. För det har ändå pluggat en del. Alltså teoretiskt eller akademiskt. Men alltså när man börjar, för det är så svårt med den här omfattningen 5 sidor. För om man ska göra en metod, om man vill göra en undersökning. Och man börjar lite kanske tänka
vad ska jag titta på?
Ja men precis. Och så här, som jag som ändå skulle kunna valt att göra observation med barn där. Och så man ändå varför jag inte har gjort det. Alltså när man ska beskriva sina val. Då, alltså bara det blir så himla omfattande. Det är det jag kan tycka är svårt med den akademiska liksom, formalien.
Nej men 5 sidor är väldigt kort. Det är väldigt kort.
Det blir rätt tråkigt. Alltså,
men man får alltid göra längre. Så.
Jo, precis. Fast det tror jag inte alltid man får. Jag tror att det är ganska strikt.
Jo, man räknar ord, men jag kan säga 5 sidor är extremt kort. Så att normalt så brukar det ligga på 10-12 sidor. Eller man räknar antalet ord så att det är 20 000 tecken eller 2 till 3 000 ord. Och då är det lite mer att jobba med.
Men jag tänker ändå att alltså poängen med, nu har vi väldigt lite uppsatser i den här utbildningen, men poängen är ju verkligen att bli alltså kritisk mot sitt egna metoder. För det jag tycker är lätt som nu när vi sitter och tittar på varandra, alltså man kommer ju direkt på saker så ja men precis, alltså man lär sig att skissa på vissa sätt och alltså det finns, alltså man kommer på så mycket sånt och det är när man själv gör sin metod och man börjar tänka på det där andra faktorer som väger in och då tycker jag att då börjar jag tänka på alla platsanalyser jag har gjort i skolarbeten som är så här otroligt subjektiva. Och för att jag tycker inte det brukar inte vara sådana krav på att man ska redogöra för det.
Nej.
Och inte vem du är typ. Är du en kvinna, du står upp och jag tycker det är en stor brist på den skolan med just den biten.
Ja, men jag tror att just det här Kevin Lynch är det en slags neutral metod för. Och den är ganska valid också eftersom han hade ganska många testpersoner som gjorde då mentala kartor som är likartade i sättet att dela upp rum. Och många använder ju även Lynch och även den här Jan Gehls metoder är också saker som verkar vara validerade.
Just det.
Now Nina is approaching. I saw her here.
Do we have representation?
Hey. Well, we are quite displeased with your coming so late.
We had an email last night that Liam Young had to take a flight early, so they changed our entire schedule. And I had to wait for them to explain that I also have to change their time.
But a note for us could have been appropriate.
I'm really sorry, yes.
Do you have any presentation that is prepared?
Yes, I was planning on showing you the revised version of the essay. So.
Will you use your own computer or?
No, if I could put my USB in that one, that would be great.
Sorry. It's okay if you save a copy on my desk as well.
Ska vi ladda upp den här någonstans? Jag tror do we need to upload
If you send me the presentations, I will upload them.
Okay.
And I think full screen as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Where? This one?
No,
That
no,
To the right. One. Yeah.
Okay, yes.
So the floor is yours, and we record it as well.
Yes, so I chose to write an essay about visual accessibility, and it's actually more or less about the gray area between the ones with disabilities and the ones who are considered to be using the space in a regular way. And why I chose to do this is because I found out that there are still a lot of achievements to get to within architecture, and I chose to compare the Dutch architecture with what we've spoken about in the seminar course, and I found out that actually the Netherlands are a bit walking behind actually next to the United States and Scandinavia. And I took some examples which you can see on the images, and these examples display kind of mistakes that they make in public places or spaces which have to be adapted afterwards when accidents have already happened. And it's not even necessarily considered people with disabilities, but also people who could who also could benefit from a better situation if the designer would have thought about this. And the fact that I chose visual accessibility is because I found some literature about our way of finding through a place or a space, and that actually someone without, for example, glasses or without a visual impairment also has much difficulties to catch the surroundings in one glance. So also for them it needs to be improved. And these are some examples that are designed by people who are focused on wayfinding. So they have, for example, on the international airport, they have these big yellow signs in order for everyone to be able to find your way. And these are some bad examples of modern architecture interior-wise in the Netherlands. And because of the use of color and darkness, it's very hard to find your way and to orient what is horizontal and what are the vertical surfaces. Even though the staircase is in a private home, it also appears in public spaces that you can't see the difference between the handrail and the rest of the object. And these are some bad on the left side examples because the reflection on the floor makes it very hard to find your orientation. And on the right side, on the other hand, is a children's hospital, and it also has to enhance the atmosphere, that it has to be pleasant to be there and that it's easy to find your way through the building. The same has to be said from the lower image. And eventually the conclusion is that there is still so much to be learned, and that it's very necessary for designers to take in regard these necessities on visibility to be able for all users to design a building, or to use a building. And so it doesn't even have to be people with disabilities, it's actually for everyone, and there's a huge gray area. Another thing I want to point out is that in the Netherlands we got a big group of elderly, and also elderly people are having all kind of adaptations they need in a building. So this is also a reason why we need to take good care of our designs. I don't have any more images to show you, so I guess that's it.
So we have to read the paper.
Well, yes, that would be nice, but yes, you would have to want to
Well, I think it's a pity that you missed out on the previous ones,
Yeah.
because I think that you could have it could have added a value to your paper. But I
Okay.
hope that you look through the video, then you can have a second glance of
Okay.
Xinga's presentation. Sorry about your name, I'm difficult
That's-
pronouncing it, and Arnaud's, because they seem to be relevant. But
Yeah.
if you go back to the previous page and
This
stop
one?
there, yes, this
Yes.
one. I have a question about this image.
Yes.
Do you think that this carpet-like thing on the floor, was it intended by the architects, or was it made in a sense of retrofitting the
Yeah.
building?
It's actually more about the use of signs instead of that it has to be very clear what the situation is. But it's an example of an early stage in the United States where they were aware of the fact that sometimes you need to hire assistance from people who know how to work with these things.
Yeah.
So if you think as a designer that you lack of knowledge, then there are lots of offices who can guide you with this, and this was done by just one office interior wise, so it didn't have anything to do with the architect.
Because I think if you look at some visual impairments, then one problem is that you can't see yellow and you can't see
Yeah.
green.
Yeah,
So in that sense, this way of working is pointless, because
yeah.
a special group with special visual impairments will not be able to see it.
Wait, when they can't see yellow or green, what do they see?
They just see gray and white.
Mm.
So and these colors will be interpreted in white.
Yeah. They will be seen as the same color then.
Yes, I have this problem with my former boss, for instance. I could never make a yellow line on what I thought was important, because he never saw it. I couldn't use green, I couldn't use any color, he never saw it. The only way of highlighting a section in a text would be to put the font in what do you say in English? Bold font.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the only way he could detect it.
Yeah.
Isn't it like the test you do with the dots
Yeah,
you have, and then you have two different colors?
yeah.
And if you can see green, you can actually see the number that the dots make.
Yes,
But
yes.
if you maybe you've seen it, but if you're colorblind, you will see only gray dots.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the Rorschach
Yeah.
test.
Yeah, I think the main focus is not really to get to some kind of conclusion, but to display a variety of literature and to explain the blurry area about how designers think about the users of their buildings, and that they don't take a lot of things in consideration, because, yeah, for example, that one with the reflection, it was meant to be like that because she wanted to make it look like an ice skating thing, which worked, but on the other hand, why would you want to do that?
But it looks nice on an image. Any other comments or thoughts?
How did you choose the literature? Did you have some like diva search, or was it more? Yeah, because that is, I think, a hard thing to do for myself.
It's kind of a trial and error process, because in the beginning it wasn't very clear to me like what I wanted to write about, so I first had to read a lot of literature to get kind of image in my mind like what's going on here. But I actually began by just Googling visual accessibility, because that was the thing I was wondering for, but also Googling it in my own language. So you will find sometimes more books or articles which can't be found in English. So if you make it more specific, then sometimes it can be helpful. And
I think
then
this is called a keyword search.
yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
if you find
Exactly.
a nice paper, then always on the bottom there's the bibliography. And if you read, for example, the headlines of a book, and it strikes you, then you go searching immediately for that book or the reference in the paper, and then it goes on, and
Yeah.
you can't stop actually.
But 3 bullets for improving your paper. I think it would be nice if you included your method, the Google search.
Okay.
You use keywords in English and Dutch,
Yes.
and then you started to define the area you found literature, and then if you also add something about visual impairments, and then the third point I lost here, but what was it? Maybe if you could get some reactions, I mean the images to the right from the Children's Hospital.
Yes.
Do anyone think that this type of coding is functioning? Because normally you use color codes for showing the way in hospitals, but here they have used every color to indicate anything.
But since it's a children's hospital, maybe it's a good thing because then they can tell the children to follow the rainbow or something.
Yeah, but which direction?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So if you could find some comments from an everyday user who have the same experience as you're stating.
Yes.
That's difficult, but I think the first, I read your text, the first ones are quite interesting, the outside installations which caused an accident. What was why did they install these poles?
At a public space,
Yeah.
it's a functional use because they did not want to get any cars near that shore in Amsterdam, so they placed 4 of these marine dark blue poles without reflection or lighting. So a woman with a scooter, she drove into it in the night and she passed away. And this was a big accident in Amsterdam because immediately the day after they put some strips on it and whatever. So this is the image where she had her accident.
Will there be any lawsuit or any?
There was, yes. The municipality was to blame.
Okay, so they had to pay a fine
Yes.
or something. Okay.
Yes.
Because that's interesting. I mean,
Yes.
bad design costs money.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the one example I chose for a public space. So it also happens outside buildings, not only inside.
Well, I won't prolong it. I think we end there and give Nina the floor, and then
Yes, I'm very sorry I couldn't attend yours. I will watch the video and
yeah, please do. And if you have any comments, I think you should send them to Arnaud or Xinga.
Tack för en intressant kurs.